Good afternoon. I'm Susan Cole, the president of Montclair State University, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this roundtable on college affordability, which is being broadcast from the television studios of the University School of Communication and Media. We have with us for this conversation Dr. Brian Bridges, the Secretary of Higher Education for the state of New Jersey, David Sokolow, the Director of the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, and 5 brilliant students from Montclair State University. The issue of affordability of public higher education is immensely important. This state and this nation can only be strong and prosperous if our rising generations of young people have access to higher education without respect to the circumstances in which they were born. We must nurture the talent and the aspirations of our people as broadly as possible, and we must not allow economic or social inequality to create an obstacle to achievement, because such inequalities are both unjust and they are damaging to society. Governor Murphy's Community College Opportunity Grant and Garden State Guarantee programs propose a very significant investment in affordability. And hopefully that investment, to be effective and sustainable, will include correcting the chronic underinvestment and inequities in operating appropriations for public higher education, and the urgently needed reform of the TAG program, which constitutes the state's largest investment in affordability. It's my pleasure to turn the roundtable over to Secretary Bridges, who will lead us through this discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Cole, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Montclair State University and President Cole for hosting us today. I'm joined by my colleague, who is the Executive Director of the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, that's a mouthful, David Sokolow. And I am eager to hear from our students who are here today as we celebrate what represents a historic public investment to improve college affordability in New Jersey through the $50 million Garden State Guarantee, or GSG for short. So I will keep my comments short. But I want to personally share how eye-opening it has been to listen to and understand how students have triumphed in the face of adversity. Through a series of similar college affordability discussions this spring, one major theme emerged. The cost of attending college must not be a barrier preventing talented students from turning their dreams into realities. Looking around the room at the students we have here today, I want to say how inspirational you are, choosing to pursue higher education at this unpredictable time while juggling multiple priorities. That is exactly why the state of New Jersey is investing in your success to make the pathway to a college degree affordable. The GSG is our commitment to ensuring future generations are destined for success. Through the GSG, beginning in the fall of 2022, students who qualify statewide would be able to receive 2 years of a college education tuition-free at any of New Jersey's 4-year public institutions. That's a life-changing opportunity, particularly as our economy rebounds and we look to our students to help grow our workforce. As someone who would have qualified for this transformational opportunity, I know how life-changing this can be. I, like many other New Jersey students, was a first-generation college student who did not have many mentors or equipped family members to help navigate the financial aspect of attending college. Through our monumental public investments in higher education, we are seeking to expand opportunities to families who would not have the chance to attend college otherwise, many of whom are students of color, low-income families, and those from disadvantaged backgrounds who have traditionally not been afforded equal access to higher education. Attainment rates pre-pandemic demonstrated that. Hispanic attainment rates, 28%. African American attainment rates, 35%. These students were earning degrees at roughly half the rate of white students. To ensure New Jersey remains a place where opportunity meets innovation in the years ahead. The Murphy administration has made historic investments in free college, starting with our Community College Opportunity Grant, which was signed into law in February to make this transformative program available to future generations. Through the GSG, we want all students across the state to know that they can afford college and access the transformative opportunities that come with higher education. In closing, I would like to underscore my passion and commitment to ensuring New Jersey's hard-working families are offered free college benefits that improve their economic and social mobility. This is how we make New Jersey a stronger and fairer state, by ensuring everyone has the ability to support to earn a high-quality credential that will take them further in life. Thank you again for the opportunity to be with you, and I'm looking forward to learning more from these students today. Now, however, I want to turn things over to my colleague, David Sokolow, the Executive Director of the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority. David.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dr. Bridges. Thank you, President Cole, everyone here at Montclair State University, and especially to the students for sharing your stories at today's roundtable meeting. I'm really looking forward to learning about your educational journeys to gain insight from your firsthand experience about how we can better help you afford and future students pay for college. As Secretary Bridges just noted, the Garden State Guarantee will promote social mobility and opportunity through a consistent public promise by all of New Jersey's state colleges and universities, a promise that students and prospective students will hear in advance. That's the key, hearing in advance that they can count on transparent, predictable, and affordable net costs of attending these institutions. Because when students receive a college promise, like the Garden State Guarantee, they find out with certainty what their out-of-pocket costs will be to attend each college before they apply for admission, before they fill out a financial aid form, or even before they investigate student loans. Today, the state of New Jersey makes significant investments to help many students pay for college. But as you all know, the financial aid process requires students to go through a bewildering maze of different programs of options. Thanks to Governor Murphy's leadership, we are building on our state's commitment to making college affordable with new initiatives and additional funding in the state budget for vital financial aid programs. In 2019, we took the first step to achieve Governor Murphy's vision by implementing the Community College Opportunity Grant program to make community college tuition-free for students with family incomes between $0 and $65,000. And now we have 3 years of experience operating that last dollar program, which is helping tens of thousands of students with free college across New Jersey. Now we can take the next step to expand the New Jersey College Promise to 4-year public institutions with the Garden State Guarantee that's planned in the budget for next year. The Garden State Guarantee is premised on the understanding that it's not enough to provide financial aid money. Students have to understand how it helps them, and they need to know in advance what their net tuition is going to be. Research by the United States Department of Education has found that low-income and first-generation students vastly overestimate the price they will be charged for college by a factor of 65 to 80%. The official sticker price that they see on that website of tuition becomes a psychological anchor that weighs down their perceived cost of college. Many assume they're going to pay a large percentage of that sticker price, requiring them to borrow a lot of student loan debt. And as a result, some promising students do not even apply to college out of concern about how they're going to afford it. Students and families are deterred even when they know that there's financial aid. So they know that they're not going to pay that full sticker price, but they may perhaps know that there's programs for lower income families like a federal Pell Grant. Perhaps they've even heard here in New Jersey about TAG, which is the tuition aid grant that's New Jersey's complementary need-based grant to the Pell. And at HESA, we're proud to have supported some of you with TAG grants. But even after factoring in the possibility that their student is going to get some help from Pell and TAG and other grants and scholarships, many students and their parents assume that their remaining net costs will be higher than they actually will be. So how do we solve this problem? With a promise. With a Garden State Guarantee that states up front to students a high-quality public college education is within your reach. You can afford to make this investment in your own future because the state and the colleges are helping make that investment in you, and the cost of tuition and fees will be free for your family. Students need to hear that before they're even applying to college, when they're just thinking about it, when they're planning their high school courses before 9th grade, when they're working adults considering whether returning to college to get a degree will help them advance in their careers. And a Garden State Guarantee will cut through the sticker shock that so many families experience when they see the published full price, and it deters them from even thinking about college at all. They shouldn't have to wait until they apply to find out what college will cost. We are losing too much talent that stays on the sidelines. In order to tap the talents of all the people of our state, such as the students here today, not only must we invest resources to make college more affordable, we also need to make a clear and consistent statewide promise that students hear upfront and can count on. I'm delighted to be here with all of you to hear these student stories, and I look forward to working together with everyone to help create the Garden State Guarantee and help more students achieve their dreams. Secretary Bridges, back to you.
Well, thank you, David. At this time, we will hear from the stars of the show, the students. So why don't we start by going around and having each of you introduce yourself by giving us your name, your major, hometown, and what an affordable higher education means to you. So Carla, why don't we start with you?
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for having us. It's a privilege. So my name is Carla Farfan Miguel. I'm a junior here, rising senior at Montclair State. My major is Justice Studies with a concentration in Paralegal Studies, a certification in translation, and a minor in Spanish. So I come from Ocean County, Lakewood, New Jersey, and affordable college means to me bridging the gap of education between low-income communities and also investing in the state and investing in the future leaders of our state. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, I second that. But thank you as well for having us. This really is a privilege. I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and I think it's a much needed conversation. My name is Elizabeth Moyeno. My major is television and digital media with a concentration in sports media and journalism and a minor in leadership through civic engagement. I am from Hoboken, New Jersey, so Hudson County. I've lived in a couple of towns in the county itself, so I know the area very well. And affordable education to me just means making every opportunity at education an equal opportunity. As she was just saying, I feel like, and as a lot of you hit on the nose, a lot of us are scared to even apply for college, not because we don't think that we're going to be successful or that we don't deserve a higher education, but because it's not affordable or it doesn't seem achievable. And although we've been resilient through a pandemic and we've been resilient through high school and we've gotten to that point in time to get us to that application process, what deters us and what turns people away is whether or not it's actually accessible, whether or not it's achievable. So I just feel like that needs to be clear cut and it needs to be something that they know is possible. So.
Great.
Sure. Well, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I am Sean Lanata. I'm a junior, rising senior, business administration major with a concentration in management, as well as a minor in business relations and professional selling. I come from a very small town in Union County, Hillside, New Jersey, exit 140, and I can say that coming from that small town and that small community, having the ability to be in college in a university is grandeur coming from a small town. Many go to community college, and we're grateful, but being able to afford it is so important. It's families that, it's not even family, it's people that I know that I speak to this day that haven't got that experience because of their family and having that family guilt. And even myself, I suffer from that family guilt as well because I felt like I was putting them in a situation that wasn't going to benefit them, but little do I know that what's going to come out of this experience is going to help them 10 times more. Thank you.
Thank you, and Sean, you're actually providing, all of you are providing models for your family. So especially when you're a first generation student, you're providing a model for the rest of your family. That's some cultural capital that you're adding and a benefit in and of itself. But there are other benefits that, and we can talk about that later on, that will accrue to your family as well. So Bree.
Yes. Hi, I'm Bree Fields. I'm a double major in psychology and child advocacy and policy with a minor in criminal justice. Right. And college affordability for me is super important. I think it's really important for everyone to have the opportunity to grow themselves and be able to create a better life for themselves and their families. And I don't think that anyone should make the decision not to go to college simply because they think they can't afford it or they can't afford it at all. And they don't want to put their families in that situation where they're taking out loans and, you know, being in debt for the rest of their lives.
Great. Gus.
So again, thank you so much for allowing us to speak here. My name is Gustavo Umania. I am an English major with a concentration in education. I come from Glen Ridge, New Jersey, Essex County. And when it comes to college affordability, with all my experience that I've had in education, be it in front of a classroom or one-on-one with students, I've always seen education as an equalizer. No matter where you come from, what background you have, or your history, education can serve as the foundation from which anybody can grow. And I think it's a tragedy to see students who have so much ahead of them, who have so much room to grow and develop as a person, just shy away from this opportunity because they see this enormous price tag and think, oh, there's no way that I can spend the rest of my life paying this off. So I think when approaching this conversation of college affordability, I think we're doing a fantastic service, not just for us, but for the future of everybody when it comes to allowing them that opportunity to express themselves, to grow as individuals, and to grow as a collective society moving forward using the opportunities that they've received through a higher education.
Well, Dr. Cole, you definitely trotted out the best and brightest of your students, to say the least.
Well, they're all terrific, but as I said, 5 brilliant ones. And, you know, can I add a comment here based on some of the things that I heard? As I look at it from the place of the president and the question of affordability, the two things that worry me a lot are, first, that there be access and affordable access to quality. Look at this TV studio. Look at the facilities and the faculty and the resources, the educational resources that someone has at a public university in New Jersey. Access to nothing, to mediocrity, is not access. It's not fair. It's not just. It's not affordability that we want. It has to be affordable access to high quality education because you deserve high quality education. And the second thing I think about from the perspective of a president is studying in complex and difficult disciplines takes time and effort. And if you have to work 20 hours, 40 hours a week, and some of our students 2 jobs, and it means that you're not in the library, that you're not in the laboratory, that you're not in the studio, that you're not with your peers working on projects, that you don't have the time to really do the reading, to reread that paper you want to hand in a 3rd time and a 4th time. I was an English professor, and I believe in the 3rd time and the 4th time edit of the paper. I mean, I worry about that our students are robbed, if it's not affordable, they're robbed of the time to really pursue their education.
Well, you know, the research proves what you're saying right now. When students have to spend more time working so that they can afford to go to college, they have less, you're right, they have less time to dedicate to the academic pursuits that they came to college for. And so we know that students suffer as a result of that. So any opportunity that we can provide in New Jersey through programs like the GSG, but through the many programs that our colleagues at HESA administers to help students mitigate the financial barriers to go into college, New Jersey and Governor Murphy has been committed to those sorts of initiatives to help students be able to get to and through college. I want to ask a couple of questions and get the students talking as well. So I want to start by asking you to think back, and I'll start over here this time, Gus, so I'll let you get a moment to think about this. But think back to when you and your peers were applying to college. What challenges did you face in navigating the cost of higher education? Liz pointed out very rightly that many students simply don't apply because they think it's not affordable. And they see, as David pointed out, the sticker price, and think, oh gosh, this college costs $32,000 a year. I don't have $32,000 so I can go to college. So if you think back to when you and your peers were applying, what challenges did you face in navigating the cost of higher education?
So I went to a pretty competitive high school it was really all or nothing. It was either a guarantee that you came from a wealthy family and that you were going to college. Not going to college was really out of the question, or you knew that you would be facing some pretty steep financial obligations to student loans, similar assistance like that. And that hampered a lot of the friends that I went to high school, that hampered their dreams to go to college. I found myself somehow in the middle of all that, and I was given an opportunity to see just the kinds of worlds that existed in that setting. And I think the idea of college affordability, like we had touched upon earlier, goes back that far. Like when you're developing these plans, like what kind of person you want to be back in high school, it is important that, you know, these challenges, the sticker shock, that can be overcome. That shouldn't be a thought when you are a freshman or a sophomore in high school, thinking like, oh, what am I going to get for lunch today? Am I going to be able to afford college? Like, am I going to miss out on this opportunity because my family sees this while we're discussing homework one day, and you know, that's it. So I think one of the biggest challenges that I had seen back in high school was just the divide of backgrounds, and seeing the two kinds of people, the two responses, where it was, yes, I'm going to college, or no, I can't. And I think through college affordability, we can bridge that gap. And so we can see far more yeses and far fewer nos, even back in high school.
Very good. And I can remember, even going back to when I was in high school, that yes, there is a divide, but there are students who were in the have-nots, if you want to say it that way, who had the ability. They simply didn't have what we often call cultural capital, or didn't think that they had what it took to go to college. And so, you know, that's why it's a comprehensive approach, and we don't need to get into all that. We're talking about affordability right now, but the affordability piece is so monumental in helping students to understand what it takes to go to college. Anyone else want to add to what Gus said?
Sure. I think you made great points. Honestly, I mean, where I went to high school is a very culturally diverse area. Hudson County itself is very diverse, and I feel very blessed to have grown up in an area such as that. But with that comes seeing a little bit of everything, and I feel like that also shaped me into the person I am today, which I'm also incredibly grateful for, because seeing college from a senior's perspective in high school was like a privilege. Like, it was like if you got the chance to go, it was a privilege. It's not like something like that should have been handed to you. Almost like, okay, I made it this far now, I deserve to achieve on to the next step. It was never that simple. It was either, like he just said, my parents can afford it, or I'm gonna work 40 hours a week, or I'm gonna fill out financial aid and FAFSA, or apply for the Educational Opportunity Fund, EOF, hope I get in, hope that they cover my expenses, might not be able to dorm, might have to sacrifice that. Like, you know, it was a privilege at the end of the day. And I think, thinking back to when I was a senior, I knew Montclair was the place I wanted to be, because growing up, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster as a woman. You can imagine the barriers that you have to jump to get there, as they're already being broken down to this very day. But I knew that the specific communications program here was very strong, and I wanted a chance at that. And I didn't want to put a financial burden on my family. You know, my mom grew up for a long time as a single mother, and my father was a hardworking man at a very young age, and being young parents in general, they had to grow up fast, both of them in their own way, to be able to support me and all my siblings. And I thank them every day for that, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for that. But I don't want them to have to break their back to give me something I deserve, you know? It shouldn't feel like a privilege. It should feel like everyone deserves that opportunity and deserves the chance to choose whether or not college is for me, or I was forced to work out of high school because I didn't have that decision. You know what I mean? So,
If I can add, if that's
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
I think that it's really important, after what you were saying, President Cole, I think that it's really important for us as students to recognize that no matter where we come from, we are speaking from a point of privilege, because I can speak from experience. I come from a town where the goal is to get out, but not everyone has that mentality. Not everyone gets to cross those barriers and say, I made it out of my town, I made it out of those circumstances, and now I have the privilege to go to school, and I have the privilege to seek an education, because education, it really is, at least I'm a first generation citizen in this country, and I'm a first generation college student. So education is a privilege. To be in this room is a privilege. So I definitely see it from that perspective. And when I come from a really unique town, Lakewood. So growing up, my parents worked hard every day, 40 plus hours, to make sure that I didn't have to worry about working, because the kids from my district, they work 2 jobs to make sure that their parents are okay. When I was looking into going to school, I knew that I didn't have the financial backbone that maybe a lot of people have, but I've never seen in my county. The reality in my county is you work for what you need, and then you see what you can do with that. And you work hard because you believe in a better future for someone else, and you have to do it for yourself. So when I was applying to colleges, I was looking at the price tag, but I was also looking at it in a way where, whatever needs to be done has to get done. So I knew that I wanted to come to Montclair. It wasn't the only school I applied to, but when I got in, I was like, okay, I'll be there. I'll be there this fall. And then you look at that financial aid packet, and then you look at doing FAFSA in itself was the biggest learning curve. Trying to learn it in a district where you're given counselors that don't know how to do financial aid when your parents are undocumented, because I'm a first-generation citizen. So having to learn that, having to go through that, and then seeing my friends go through the same things, and because I learned how to do it, I said, I will do it for you. We'll do it together. That opened my eyes to so much need in my town, so much need in my community. So seeing that, not having the help, and then getting what it costs to go to college, I worked 2 jobs that summer to make sure that I had the aid the finances to go to school in the fall, and then I worked in the fall to make sure that I had enough money to go to school in the spring. And that's the way I've been working at it since I've been here. And that's what my parents have taught me, growing up in a town and not in a country where a lot of things are given to a lot of people, but being kind of like the underdog. And because of circumstances that are outside of my own hands, the cards are dealt the way they are, and you can't be mad at that. But it gives you a certain point of view where anything is possible because you have your own 2 hands, And I always thought that way of education. Not everyone has the privilege to see it as a privilege, because some people are trying to survive. And I give the example of my parents. My parents spent every day trying to survive, so I get the chance to live and learn. And I think that education is putting your foot in the door, really understanding that education is the only way out of poverty sometimes, of those communities. It's lesson to be learned, sorry.
No, you're fine. So Carla, your story is so familiar to what we've heard when we've gone to have these panels with students across the state. So that's a perfect segue into a question about because I hear that you're dedicated to continuing in school, and you're putting in the blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that you've got the funds to pay for school. The question then is, what would a program like Garden State Guarantee mean to you if you could have 2 years of college or tuition free at Montclair, for instance? And I would like all of you to weigh in on that. But Carla, since you were last speaking, we can start with you.
I think it gives certain students weight off their back. I think that because I come from a very unique situation, and I do recognize that my situation is unique, my parents don't really understand how hard it is to pick a major, or to pick your schedule, or to see what certification I'm gonna get, what minors do I do, what should I learn a new language. Because I'm worried about different things, I kind of went with what felt right, but that guarantee would give me the privilege to take a little bit more time to make sure I like what I like, to make sure I am able to do something that I really care about. And I do something that I care about, but I was forced into it. I had to take that accelerated step. If I was given more time, who knows? Maybe I would have been a different major. I think that it takes a tremendous weight off of students' backs.
Okay. Sean, you look like you were itching to say something.
If I knew, that I was given, my first 2 years, the ability to just have that, I would say, mental weight lifted. I feel like, and not to revert back to the first question, but I automatically, as a senior in high school, took out the option of going out of state, because I just knew myself nor my family could afford that. I'm like, I have to stay in the States. I have to stay in Jersey. after staying in New Jersey. And not for nothing, I don't regret it. I love Montclair State, but
Right answer.
but it definitely means a lot when there's what's the word, assistance, when there's that level of understanding that, okay, I'm gonna have that freedom to express myself through my education and find myself, because I feel like those first 2 years is, you know, you're taking a bunch of general courses for the most part. I'm not saying you're not taking major courses, but for the most part, you're taking general courses and you're getting those requirements out the way, and you're trying to discover, okay, where is my lane? You know, where do I want to actually direct myself? Because once you get into year 3, year 4, you got to start making those plans.
Yeah.
I would like to just slip in a small point here, because it's so important what we've been hearing. And one of the things we're hearing is students have ideas about what it is they think they want to do. And that's really important, or what kind of school they want to go to. And what affordability means is that you get to choose the institution that will be right for you. You don't go to one because you can afford it and not go to the one that's right for you because you can't afford it. That is a really important part of affordability, that every student gets to, at least to the extent that they understand it, make a choice for what will be best for them. If it's a community college, if it's a 4-year institution, if it's a school that has a great media and communication program, or one that has a great program in biochemistry, you get to choose what you need if it's affordable.
Great point. Great point. Anyone else want to add?
I'll add, I wanted to say, like, I agree with everything you said. Like, I also took the option of going out of state off the table. I only applied to schools that had EOF programs because I knew that if I was going to go to college and if I wanted to do something with my life, I needed to get that financial help, or else I wouldn't have had the option to go. And I think this program will be so great because I work for University College here on campus, which is the where all the undeclared majors are. And I can't tell you how many phone calls I get with them telling me they need to make appointments and they're stressing out over having to pick a major because they're going into their junior year. And then if they don't pick a major, then they automatically get put into humanities. And it's like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't know what I want to do yet. And I think it'll be so great because it'll allow students to actually not stress, focus more on the coursework, what they're doing, and allow them to find themselves, because that's really what I feel like college is. You're really finding yourself and where you want to go and figuring out what you want your future to look like. And so I think it would be great for a lot of students just to help them figure out what they want to do with their lives.
Great. Great.
I actually want to second her on that because I also too, like, before my freshman year here at college at Montclair State, I started by working at Willowbrook Mall. The second, that was to just literally be able to afford the education alongside my family, but to also have a backbone myself, to be able to support myself within these 4 years of school, because as students, we all have expenses to pay to outside of tuition. And I slowly realized on campus is where I needed to be. Like, and it was what I thought was going to be a longer turnaround. It clicked so quickly for me, and I'm grateful for that because I had the chance to be incredibly involved on campus. Like many of you here, I'm sure can all relate to that. I work as a building manager at the Student Center. I joined my sorority. I held several internships. I'm going here for my master's. So to answer your question about what 2 years of free education would mean a master's degree.
Yeah.
And actually higher education, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm a TV major, but it was actually my involvement on campus and growing as a leader and emerging as a leader in Montclair State University, in Essex County, in Hudson County, in New Jersey, that made me realize that higher education is where I need to be, because for things such as this, making it possible, making it affordable, making it achievable, obtainable. So for me, I felt like I was at my happiest and changing lives for the better and making a positive impact as a student here, but also for my outside communities as well when I was leading on campus. And that's what made me want to pursue higher ed for my master's. So that would make people not only give them the opportunity to choose, hey, what do I really want to do with my life in undergrad, but what about those that want to go higher? What are those who want to achieve more, like myself?
So Liz, I thought you wanted to be on ESPN.
I did. And as they can all attest, Montclair has the ability to make you, when they say it's all here, they're not just saying that. You can really get everything you want out of college if you actually apply yourself. Because I feel like Montclair gives you the tools. It's a matter of you taking that initiative. And it was just that involvement on campus and me building those connections and impacting other lives that made me realize higher ed is what I need my master's in, because I want to pursue that. And I'm going to be working for University College and actually as a grad student, as a grad coordinator student, and also at the Student Life Service Desk as now a supervisor. So like those are going to be my 2 grad jobs while I'm pursuing my master's, and that's where I feel like was my calling. And this is a great part of that. Like this is what pushed me in that direction.
Well, that's great. I mean, I want you all to be mindful of the fact that sometimes you're, as I mentioned earlier, you're changing the trajectory of your lives by being here. And the fact that you're fighting through all of you are talking about working 2 jobs and working to pull together the funds so you can pay for the next semester. You're persisting through adversity. And that's why a program like the Garden State Guarantee is so important. And so I want you to be mindful that you're changing, you're becoming more socially mobile each day that you're on campus. And you might not realize this until 20 years from now, where you look up and you realize, you know, if I had not gone to Montclair, if I had not worked hard to make sure that I had the funds to stay in college and graduate, my life would not be what it is today. And so I want you, I think about, I have that thought often, almost weekly actually. And so I want you all to be mindful of, take advantage of every opportunity you have here and cherish these days that you're having here at Montclair, because you're literally changing your lives right now, literally. And so with that, I want to be mindful of time. And so I'd like to go around the room and ask each of you, just in a 30-second kind of soundbite, what do you envision for your future?
I can begin. I know you began last time, so it's only fair. For my future, I imagine graduating with my bachelor's, pursuing my Juris Doctorate, and working in immigration. I want to give back to the community that raised me and the community that's helped me so much. So nonprofits, but with my community specifically. So that's what the future holds for me.
Right. Commendable. Liz?
Absolutely. Graduating with my bachelor's this Saturday, actually. Those low-income communities, those who feel like they're not worthy of all the great things that life has to offer, and helping people like us, people like myself, emerge as leaders in their community and continue to pass that baton down. Just keep on being, you know, an advocate and serving those inner communities and just playing my part, because I feel like I found my purpose. Now I feel the need to fulfill it.
All right, for myself, I feel like I'm still in that search of finding my lane, but I am very confident that yes, I'll end up leaving Montclair State one day and going for my master's, whether it be business administration or public administration. I'm still deciding, and deep down, long into the future, I'll probably get my doctorates.
In my future, I see graduating with my bachelor's and then coming back here to get a master's in clinical psychology with a focus in forensics. And then beyond that, working for the Violent Crimes Against Children International Task Force with the FBI.
Wow, that's very, very specific. Great. Yes.
And for myself, in the future, I see myself taking all of the education that I've learned, whether working in a classroom or one-on-one with individual students, and using the skills that I've developed to help people realize the potential inside themselves and recognize how far they can go if they take the skills that they have and work on them and develop them and push as far as they can, and helping people see that potential.
Great. Wow. The future is bright.
I wanted to be a playwright, but I became a university president.
Well,
You never know what's going to happen.
I was going to say, Dr. Cole, in 30 years, one of your successors might be right here that since
I'm
Liz is
sure.
getting into higher education. So thank you, Dr. Cole. Thank you, students. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for this eye-opening discussion. And I feel confident that the state is in good hands with graduates like yourself moving into it. And I'm confident that we can implement the Garden State Guarantee, that more students like you will continue to be able to come through the pipeline and serve the state. Thank you again, and we appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for visiting with us.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
sharing
Thank
your
you.
stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.